Hi, I'm Paul Rouke, the founder and CEO of PRWD. With me today is Morys, one of the most influential people in the conversion optimization industry and one of the 17 global thought leaders who have contributed to our book, The Growth Strategy That's Been Ignored. Today I'm going to be asking Andre a wide range of questions for him to share his knowledge and experience of the conversion optimization industry, following on from his insights that he shared with us in the book. So I'd like to welcome Andre to the call. Hi, Andre.
Hi, Paul.
Fantastic, thank you. So could you just initially just introduce yourself and just provide listeners with a bit of background of how you started working in the industry and what you're doing today?
Yeah, so I started back in 1996 when I founded WebArts as let's call it a web design agency. And from like 2006, we started systematically optimizing websites, e-commerce experiences. So I would say, yeah, that I do this since more than 10 years. And today we are 60 people here in Germany. And yeah, working for most of the top 100 e-commerce websites in Germany, Switzerland, and Austria.
Okay, fantastic. And am I right in thinking that WebArts are the biggest dedicated conversion agency in the world? Is that right, or one of the biggest?
Yeah, I'm in conversion optimization measurements. That's a feedback that I get very often. I don't know if it's really the biggest. There are some other big players, but when you drill down to agencies that are completely focused on an A/B testing centered approach of optimization, then yeah, maybe we're the biggest or one of the biggest.
Okay, fantastic. And can you just provide listeners with a bit of an overview of the Global Optimization Group as well? Because I know it was yourself that was the original architect behind creating this group, and just provide listeners with a bit of context behind it.
That was something that was an idea I had back in 2010 because we were doing more and more international projects, and I quickly realized I can't do as an agency what we're doing here in Germany. I cannot just put it in Google Translate and offer the same service for Hungary, Spain, or Scandinavia. So with the first international contacts I had, I was playing around that idea of building a group of companies that have a similar way of approaching the task, a similar portfolio of services. So that was when the idea was born to build this group of companies. So it's also already now in the 6th year.
Okay, fantastic. And which agencies are in the group? Obviously, ourselves from representing the UK, PRWD, but could you just provide an overview of the other agencies in the group as well?
Yeah, so the approach from the beginning was kind of a quality approach to have people in this network with the same thinking. So we are, I would say, a group of thought leaders with people like Chris Goward from Wider Funnel in North America, with John Ekman in Scandinavia from Conversionista. We have our friends from France, Uptilab, which is a very analytic-centered service provider there. We have you in the UK, and finally we have Online Dialogue with Ton Wesseling-Bartschutz in the Netherlands. So yeah, all of these people are very experienced people. So this is the focus of the Global Optimization Group.
Okay, fantastic. Thanks for the overview. So I'm just going to move on to the first question. Really, is what's your kind of assessment of the conversion optimization industry currently in 2016 as we move into 2017?
Yeah. I mean, the industry is following the maturity of its market, right? So I see still 40% of especially the bigger companies not doing A/B testing or not doing it properly, or just testing landing pages. So in my overall assessment, I would say 80 to 90% of the people do not aim for the bigger goal, which is work on the company results, like change the growth rate, change the profitability of a whole company. Most optimizers, I would say, they're still sitting in their dark cellars and optimizing landing page experiences, which might not have a big impact on the overall profitability of their corporation. So I would still say there's a lot room for improvement. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it was one of the core reasons for us coming out to people like yourself and other industry thought leaders originally about 18 months ago and asking the question, what in your experience is holding companies back from growing through optimization? Because we're seeing kind of week to week, day to day, just the lack of businesses really embracing kind of strategic conversion optimization. So what I'd like to just move into now is to talk a bit more about some of these reasons that are holding companies back from growing through optimization. And first of all, I'd be keen to get your thoughts that kind of outside of industry specialists and industry thought leaders and things like that. What do you feel is the kind of general perception of conversion optimization from a business point of view?
Yeah. From an outside perspective, when you ask me what's the perspective on a typical C-level on the term conversion optimization, I would say, yeah, these are the button tweakers and color testers. You want to talk with me about conversion optimization? I don't have time for this. Please go to our e-commerce manager or head of UX. It's his topic. So the term conversion optimization still is perceived as like a little thing you could do additionally, which I think is wrong. So when you ask me outside the client, or when you mean with outside from the client's organization, so what does a head of UX or an e-commerce manager see as conversion optimization? Most people equal it with A/B testing, which is completely wrong. So there's another big misunderstanding on that topic. So most people still did not get the strategic impact of conversion optimization or rolling out a continuous optimization process inside their corporation. They still don't know what this is about.
Yeah, I would very much agree with what we experience all the time with UK businesses. So yeah, it's a big challenge, definitely.
It's our fault, at the end.
Yeah.
I mean, it's us who should educate the C-level. So if we are not talking the right language to the right people and make clear what the strategic impact is, what do we expect? So look at all these conferences and all that talks with best practices and A/B test results and how to segment users in Google Analytics. This is all stuff that the typical C-level completely does not care about. It's operative stuff. So we are completely speaking, or the conversion optimization industry in general is completely speaking the wrong language. So our topic is not perceived as something strategic and relevant.
Yeah, well, I think one of the things we'll move on to a bit later is talking about buzzwords and trends and bringing in things like digital transformation, because I'm sure you'll agree that if there was no real talk of conversion optimization, but everything we did was under the umbrella of digital transformation, then that would certainly get better attention by the C-level. Because yeah.
I mean, and for us as optimizers, it feels wrong to put our topic under the umbrella of digital transformation, because we perceive digital transformation as a bullshit word that is used just to reach the right awareness level of the typical C-level. But again, it's our fault.
Yeah, yeah. Well, alongside ourselves, as you know, as agencies that are specialising in conversion optimization, do you have any thoughts on what I talk quite often about the wide range of different types of agencies, search agencies, full service agencies, global media agencies that are pretty much jumping on the bandwagon to offer these kind of services. What are your thoughts on the bandwagon jumpers and the other types of agencies that are now wanting to play a part in this area of specialism?
Yeah, the question is, why do you need external help for doing conversion optimization? So what's our business model as a conversion optimization agency? So first I question if agency is the right word. If we are helping companies set up a process and mastering their digital transformation, increasing their profitability, we are much more consultants than agencies. You know, for me, it's not a critical question. How do I set up an A/B test? You get tons of ways how to help people with that task. You can book an online course. You can ask Tom Wesseling with Testing Agency, or they're doing this good and cheap for people. So whatever, this is not the critical path how to execute an A/B test. The critical path or the critical task is how do I set up a continuous and effective optimization process that leads me to repeatable results, positive results. That's a critical question. So if agencies like performance agencies, web agencies are now offering conversion optimization, it makes completely sense. As a performance agency, I get more performance if I improve also the on-site performance. Makes sense. Is a performance agency able to set up an optimization process? Do they know what's the critical factor in setting up an optimization process? I don't know. So that a lot of people are now doing conversion optimization makes a lot of sense for me, but I don't know if they mean the same when they call it conversion optimization. That's the question.
Yeah, I think I would probably summarise it that the agencies that are jumping on the bandwagon that are kind of offering this they're very much more focused on the tactical side of optimisation rather than the strategic and the cultural change and the broader business growth side that our agencies talk to businesses about. And I don't know in Germany if you've experienced this, but this is almost like a vicious circle that's happening in the UK, where businesses who are starting to allocate their first budget for conversion optimization, we're still in that phase where this is a new area of investment in their kind of annual budgets. So companies are creating a budget line for optimization. They're going out to their first agency to allow, do a 12-month program maybe. But then what's happening? Companies are maybe going for the cheaper option because they think, well, maybe they can't understand the difference of what you get for more money, or if agencies appear to be offering the same. But then what we're seeing happening is businesses are going with maybe the cheaper option. Over the course of the first 12 months, having quite a poor experience because there's no real impact, there's no real growth, there's no real customer learnings. It's very tactical, it's very basic. And then at the end of the 12 months, when they're reviewing that investment, they don't really see an impact on the bottom line. And rather than them actually looking to maybe increase budgets to go for more of an intelligent and more of a strategic approach, some businesses are getting the sense that optimization isn't for them and isn't for their business because they've had a poor experience. So it's like a vicious circle, and these companies need to be re-educated on how it should be done. Yeah.
I completely agree. This vicious circle, psychologists call it self-fulfilling prophecy.
Yeah.
So you get what you deserve and what you're thinking about. So, but again, it's our fault. We have to educate the C-level how to do it properly. If we miss that, we cannot expect great results. Of course, at WebArts we have a no pitch policy, which does not mean we don't pitch. It means we are not participating in the typical RFP processes that are started by the how are these buying departments called from customers?
Procurement.
Procurement-oriented pitches where they are obviously searching for the cheapest vendor. So we don't participate in that because we already see that this is a completely wrong way of approaching the topic.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, no, I think we're just today actually we've just had an RFP through for a major business, and what's interesting is that the first step they'll be wanting from this shortlisted group of agencies is a proposal, like written proposal PDF, with our costings on and with our approach, and they'll be making decisions of then who then to see. So before actually meeting agencies, they're going to be comparing agencies based on what's on a PDF document and what's the cost models for the different options. So it's
they're buying services and consultancy the same way they're buying cars. You know, you can do that with a car. If you want a Ford Fiesta with a described feature list, and you can go for the cheapest price because no matter of the price you will always get the same car, but you can't do that for consultancy. You should always aim for the highest ROI. And how can a junior procurement guy or lady or whatever in a company make a decision on what is the future ROI of such a partnership? So, but this is something where we educate our clients and potential clients, and we go through these steps, and we say, it's your decision. We as WebArts, our claim is make it the right way or leave it. So, if we can agree on what is the right way and what we think is the right way makes sense for you as the right way, then we can go further. If we don't have any chance to make this evaluation, we won't be part of your little RFP process.
Yeah, I think in some ways it goes back a little bit to what you said earlier about the quality rather than quantity approach, and it's something that we've held quite close to us as like a brand value for many years, and in different areas. So the quality of businesses we work with rather than the quantity. So we don't want this to be a revolving door of get as many clients through the door as possible. We want to be working with businesses that we genuinely feel are open-minded so that we can have a real impact on their business and help to develop their culture.
And that's what most people don't get, that if you're talking about this in a real partnership with your clients, and you can make a big impact, you can make a big impact on their numbers. So we have some companies where we have an ROI of a couple of 1,000%, and it's big budgets. So it's multi-million, up to several hundred millions of euros of difference that our work makes. And because it's measurable, it's appreciated. But it only works if you're talking on the same level on eye height with the decision makers in the company, right? And that's what makes the difference for me from being a supplier for landing page tests. That would not make a difference. So I would never offer that.
Yeah, fantastic, great. So what I'm just like to move on to now is go into a little bit of detail around what point you raised in our book, the growth strategy that's been ignored, as well as some of the other contributors. So just to recap, I asked yourself and all the other thought leaders, what in all your experience is holding companies back from growing through optimization, and there's a wide range of insights, and what you shared, the kind of headline is that the ego of the optimizers makes 90% of test results a lie. Would you like to just kind of expand on that, on your thoughts and experiences on that first of all?
Of course. Again, from a psychological point of view, this phenomenon is called confirmation bias. So everybody that invests energy, effort, time resources, whatever, in a project or task to improve something is from the very deepest obsession or honest obsession about really improving something. So of course you have the mindset that this, what you improve, must work. So what happens when people look at A/B tests and test results is that they're searching for a confirmation that their work was good. What happens is people looking at A/B tests every day, stopping at the day it has the first significance. So these are statistical errors. Or they're segmenting results until they find an uplift, which is known as alpha error accumulation. Again, a statistical trap. So there are a lot of traps that you have to avoid, not to prove that your work was right. That's what I mean with the ego. If you're good optimizer, you had an A/B test running that had a big uplift, a significant uplift. This is a really good feeling. Some optimizers' daily moods are depending on their A/B test results, right? So it's like a drug. Of course, optimizers want more of this good feeling and of this drug. So some start seeing good results where there are not good results. So best practice is, if you have an optimization process running, separate the people that do the concepts and do all this work of the A/B test. Separate these people from the people that analyze the result. So I don't know how you call these people, but if it's like the test strategist or a conversion conception guy, whatever, who does a test, he should not have any possibility to watch the test results while the test is running. He should not be able to stop the test. He should not write the test report. This should be somebody that I would call a test analyst. The test analyst looks at the data of tests that other people produce to eliminate this factor. In organizations that have a proper optimization process running, test strategists and test analysts are separate people. And some test analysts, they go so far that they, for example, if a test result is not significant, they won't write any number in the test report. They just write not significant because they know about the power of numbers. If it was my suggestion that to have this variation 3 and the result is not significant but nearly significant and it's also 3.8% uplift, I will start arguing about, but look, it's also nearly as good as the winning variation. No, it's not. It's not significant. So a good test analyst will remove that room for interpretation of wrong numbers and eliminate this confirmation bias thing.
Yeah.
This is a typical beginner mistake. It's good for the buy-in to have good results, but you will fall deep as soon as you realize that all your results were bullshit. You realize you lost a lot of money, a lot of time, and you made a couple of wrong decisions. So this is why I think this is a really bad thing.
Yeah. Well, I remember it was about 4 years ago. Optimizely came out, and we started to use that as one of the first testing platforms for our clients. And it was in the early days of Optimizely, and I think the record email notification we received for a test reaching a significant conclusion and that we had a test winner, I think our record was about 2 hours.
Yeah.
And it's just obviously they worked on that, and it's now much stronger. But I've noticed Google Optimize, their new kind of the free kind of test beta version that's out now, free platform. I noticed Ton Vesseling has picked up on the fact that Google are sending out these similar notifications within a day of a test having gone live. So it's I'm sure they'll improve it, but things like that don't help the industry and don't help manage people's expectations.
Exactly, exactly. And that's why most of the testing tool vendors, they switched from frequentistic statistics to Bayesian statistics. So this problem does not occur anymore. In our very own testing workflow management tool, which is called Iridion, we have several more indicators. So you can still stay with the frequentistic statistics, but you should also calculate the time of the experiment and reach like a representative sample size and see that your uplift is really stable for several days. So you have a lot of more indicators you need until the test result is not only significant, it's really valid. So that makes a difference.
Yeah, absolutely. So what I'm just keen to pick up on there, a few minutes ago you were talking about kind of egotism around wanting things to work. And I'd like to talk about egotism on a bit more of a broader level, typically to bring in the concept of the HIPPO, highest paid person's opinion. And, typically the chief executive and directors that most often, in most cases, are the people driving decisions within business. And it's most businesses, in our experience, are more product-led rather than customer-led. And I've talked in this last 12 months about kind of reinventing the HIPPO. So rather than the HIPPO being like a negative connotation, filled with egotism and opinion and forcing things down on the people underneath them, if we reinvented it to bring in characteristics such as humility and integrity, we'd be in a much better place. We'd be listening to people more, we'd be listening to customers more. The businesses that you're working with, and like say you work with some of the big major brands in Germany and across Europe, how much, in terms of the effect of the HIPPO and like egotism and opinion within business, how much are you seeing that affecting or hampering conversion optimization strategies, or do you feel that there's quite an open cultures within the clients that you work within?
Yeah, first of all, here at WebArts, we don't call the people that are giving us that 6 to nearly 7 digit number budget, we don't call them hippos. I hate the word, and I think it's completely wrong to find a word for the people that give you the money. To find a word that I mean, hippos are nice animals, right? But they're fat and ugly and all. So obviously, a hippo is something really stupid. So why should I call somebody that I want to educate why he should give me €500,000 budget for really improving his business numbers? Why should I give such a person such a name? So I completely hate the word. I know what it means. It stands for top-down decisions, while an optimization process bases on bottom-up decisions. So the customer makes a decision what's better and what not the decision maker. So, but you cannot expect that the decision maker, who of course likes his power, his business power, you cannot take away decisions from him and expect him to embrace that change. He won't. So again, it's our fault as long as we don't educate decision makers and C-levels why it's important to do this properly, and we are still calling them hippos. We should not expect them to respect us.
Yeah. No, very, very good point. Very, very good point indeed. So I'm just keen to talk about a few of the other key insights from contributors in the book. First of all, I'd just like to talk about what Brian Eisenberg has shared in the book. And I think many see Brian as kind of the godfather or the grandfather of the industry. And I think, the first person that introduced the CRO acronym into the industry, which is now very much getting negative press because it doesn't give an accurate representation of what we do on a strategic level. But Brian in the book said that CRO should not be seen as a tactic. It needs to be embedded in the culture of businesses. What's your experiences of this? Is CRO or optimization, strategic optimization, is it beginning to get embedded within the culture of businesses you're working with, or is it a big challenge that you're tackling?
Yeah, I think that's a good thing about conversion optimization. If it delivers good results, it gets automatically a buy-in. Uplifts in conversion rates and profitability. That's a very strong number in every organization. So if you report it correctly, of course, the culture changes. First, the organization will change. Teams will start to be set up across different departments. So you will see a lot of change, not only in the cultural way. I'm really happy that I spend a lot of time with Brian and also Jeffrey Eisenberg. They're one of the most clever people in this business. So when they coined the term conversion rate optimization, of course they did not know what the whole industry makes out of this term. So I think the reason why for a lot of cases it works not properly is not based on the term. It's based on wrong education. It's based on the wrong service of the companies that are trying to offer that. I would approach that completely different. And it's our task again to report the impact of our work correctly. I don't see anybody reporting the impact. So the overall ROI of the testing program, who is able to report that correctly to C-level, so that it's a number that the CFO understands and the CFO will believe. So it's a credible number. I don't see people doing that. They're happy if the online marketing manager is happy with their service. So that's it.
Yeah, we're really interested. I've been speaking to Pep Lai, who's one of the other contributors in the book. Same kind of interview as this, and we've had very much the same conversation around in terms of demonstrating the value and the impact of an optimization strategy and continuous improvement. To be able to put a definitive number on it that's credible, that with all the different variables that are being factored in based on the levels and the quality of traffic coming into websites and all these other contributing factors, it is a real challenge, isn't it, to be able to put a definitive, concrete number on the value.
You should ask yourself, what has to happen so the CFO believes the number? First, you should start talking with the CFO. Tell him what you're doing. Tell him what numbers you're changing. How do you see the impact? If you're not talking with him about that, he will never believe your report. If you're not sending the report to the C-level, why should they care? Why should they believe it? So it's starting with that tiny little things, not talking to the people who are responsible for the numbers, not talking to the people who should believe in the numbers. First step, talk with these people and ask, say, I made a 10% conversion rate uplift right now in January 2017. How would you evaluate the ROI of this work? What's your thought? So, start from there.
Yeah.
And then wonderful things will start to happen.
Yeah. The light bulb moments that will kick in and things like that. Yeah. So one other area I think we'll probably touch on now is what I actually contributed to the book around what I see as holding companies back, is that so many businesses are talking the talk when it comes to being customer centric. listening to our customers. We're a customer-centric business. It's so easy to say that. Yet when you start to probe and ask questions of when was the last time you spoke to your customers, when was the last time you did some one-to-one research to understand behaviour and preferences, things start to fall apart. And it maybe was a year or 2 years ago. Now, I know at WebArts you're very big advocates, and you invest a lot of time in the whole qualitative research and behavioural understanding for your clients. What's your experience over in Germany and broader when you've worked with international brands around how customer-centric or not are businesses? And are they talking the talk or walking the walk?
Yeah, I mean, I would say most companies are completely not customer-centric, but also most companies don't claim to be customer-centric. If they're talking about customer centricity, they mean, yeah, we have a good call center. These people are well educated and trained.
Yeah.
So our clients can call it. No, this is not what we call customer-centric. For me, it's a natural result of how businesses are run that they are not customer-centric. It's like with the system 1 and system 2 analogy of your brain, where you have this part of your brain that is the logical part is able to calculate, needs a lot of energy, but decisions are always kind of objective and number driven. So, of course, companies developed or tend to be on that side, to follow numbers when they make decisions. So most of the companies are number driven and result driven, and that's okay, and that's natural. Being client centric is kind of like the other system. So it sounds kind of esoterical for number driven people to build personas which are completely unreal people. Maybe you can't even prove that they exist by numbers. So this sounds completely strange. I think it was John Ekman who wrote a good blog post about like the logical people coming from Venus and the other ones coming from Mars. I don't remember. Or the other way around.
Yeah.
I compare it to the leadership of the enterprise. There is a Spock inside us, a rational, logical guy, and there's a Captain Kirk in us, an impulsive, gut feeling guy. And you should understand that it's very rare that organization or people have both. It's very rare. Most people are either number driven or like intuition driven, people driven. And an effective optimization needs both. So how could you expect to have both inside an organization if it's not natural? You should understand as an optimizer that you won't find it. You have to educate people. The UX people, you should educate that a good UX is not everything. At the end, it's evaluated by the profit you're driving with the things you do. And the number of people, you should educate that you can't drive or deliver an uplift if you're not working on UX and personas and design thinking and customer journey mapping. Educated, then you come to good and effective optimization. You need both.
Yeah. Well, I think one example of where we've worked with a business that was very much a product-led business, and we wanted to help them transition to becoming much more customer-led and customer-centric, was AO.com, who are one of the big kind of online success stories in the UK. And 5 years ago, they were very much product-led. The C-level had little understanding and awareness and appreciation of customers and customer feedback and user research. They weren't doing any. And so we worked with the digital team. We conducted user research, but we actually got the videos from the user research, and we gave the videos to the C-suite at AO.com and asked them to watch the videos so they could actually watch for the first time real users trying to use their website and hitting roadblocks and not understanding things, etc. And that one activity led, that it's been since described as like shock tactics, but we got right to the heart of the decision makers and the education and the enlightenment. And
that's education directly in your face, right? If you show the people the video. And in my talks, when I'm presenting at the conference, I always have a slide that makes clear every single euro or pound or dollar revenue you have in your organization is a result of a customer decision. If you don't understand the customer decisions, you can't change the numbers. You can't change the revenue or your growth rate. As long as you don't understand that critical connection, you won't be able to change it. So this is why I think the great ones, they don't differentiate between product-led and customer-led businesses. They realize that a good product owner is customer-centric to realize to produce good numbers, right?
Yeah, absolutely, yeah. And just one other question on this. Thinking ahead for businesses that are listening to this now in 2017 or 18 potentially, who are maybe doing a bit of conversion optimization, but it's not really a big part of their business. For you, thinking ahead to the next 3-5 years for businesses, how important do you feel conversion optimization and test and learn, having this as part of your DNA, how important do you feel it is to the continued success and growth of businesses?
I mean, it makes a massive difference. If you see the numbers of companies that really got it, that implemented a good optimization process, you see how they are dominating their market. So if they ask themselves, how many experiments do we do? How much innovation do we need? They will see like how much do our competitors do. I can't drive growth beyond organic growth if I'm not better than my competitor. So as long as my competitor is doing 250 experiments a year and they're good, they're profitable, they lead to significant innovation, I can't have a higher growth rate if I don't implement a similar or even better process. So of course it's critical to win the race. It's a critical factor in the so-called digital transformation to set up a process like this. A lot of times I compare it to quality management. In the 70s, all the car industry, they all had to implement quality management. So that led to Kaizen from Toyota or Six Sigma or all these quality management techniques. Conversion optimization is nothing else than implementing one of these quality management techniques, circles inside your digital revenue chain. So if you don't have that, you can't control it. If you can't control it, you can't grow faster than your competition.
Yeah, I think one business to highlight there. I'm sure you talk about them as well. Amazon, obviously the biggest online retailer. I think it's interesting, and what I say to people is never forget that Amazon at one stage in their life cycle of business development and business growth were the same size as every other business are today. You know, they started from one person. And Jeff Bezos, obviously, there's many kind of quotes that he's provided, which have featured on presentations, and one of them, and this is just demonstrates a direct correlation between kind of customer centricity and optimization to business growth. Is like a key part of their vision that Jeff has shared is that we will become, or we will be, the most customer centric business on Earth. And
he also says always start with the customer and then work backwards. So you could say he's completely not number driven or product driven. He's completely customer driven. But I would not agree. I think Jeff Bezos is one of the few people, business leaders in the world that realized how you can be product driven and realizing how to have a faster growth than competition by being customer driven.
Great.
I remember Brian Eisenberg. He he had a tremendous talk at Conversion Summit, our very own conference in Frankfurt, I think 2 years ago, when he revealed that Amazon did nearly 2,000 A/B tests a year. So there was like a wow going through the audience. The thing is that he did not talk about, what most people did not know is they nearly doubled the number of experiments. The year before they did around 500. So ask yourself, which organization is able not only to do like 500 experiments, or no, that was 2 years before. The year before it was 900, I think. But to double this number in 12 months, that's the real power behind Amazon.
I think, although I have referenced that kind of quote before, because I think another quote from Jeff was, if you double the number of experiments that you run, you'll double your experimentation, invention. But as a word of warning for people listening and for businesses that potentially start to think about volume of testing being a key performance indicator for their optimization strategy, is I see many businesses who are aiming to run quite a lot of tests, but actually when you look behind the test and look to see whether there's a hypothesis and there's an intelligence behind the test, very often they're sacrificing an intelligent idea for the ease of just running lots for numbers. So I think, I just from my experience, businesses should be very careful of aspiring to run lots of tests to think they're inventive when actually there's no real intelligence behind what they're testing.
Yeah, that's why I encourage people to set up different tracks. There's nothing wrong. I call it high frequency testing, like executing a lot of small tests where you learn stuff, but don't expect that this has a big impact on your overall numbers. I call the other sector, I call it high impact testing. So you do a lot fewer tests, a much smaller number of tests, but maybe these tests are more complicated because you have to make a bigger contrast in your A/B test. So instead of executing 100 or 200 tests a year, you're maybe just executing 20 or 30 tests of this kind a year, but they make a big difference. So maybe you need both, and you should separate it, build separate tracks for these several things. You can also add another track like innovation tests, test crazy ideas that would not pass any rating, but you should do them because maybe you find something great if you can afford it. Yeah. Because there are several major goals behind your testing effort, and you should give room for all these different goals.
Yeah, I think to pick up on what you've just said there around the different types of testing or different streams, at PRWD we have what we class as the full spectrum of testing. So there's actually 3 tracks. So we've got iterative testing, which is obviously typically quicker, some of the low-hanging fruit and some of the more easy to implement tests. Then moving into kind of more innovative, bolder testing, redesign testing, much more heavy lifting. But then a third level, which is strategic testing. So it's testing which is going to inform the direction of the business or help to inform some of the value proposition of a business or help a business pivot in a different direction. So I think that's that idea of having streams or 3 different types of testing is still a very new concept to, I think, many businesses that are running A/B tests. I think most are in that iterative cycle.
Yes, exactly. And they mix it up, and there's a lot of discussion inside the organization which tests should be done. That goes in the wrong direction if you don't separate it.
Yeah, absolutely. So what I'd just like to move on to now is a little bit more tactical, if that's okay. We've talked quite broader and strategic, but for people listening who I'm kind of summarising this little section of questions as businesses that are looking to start a true conversion optimization program. So, more strategic, more impact, and, this is going to help their business grow. So many businesses now are listening, probably have been running tests for quite a while, but many businesses, I'm sure, will be wanting to really start to push on and to, follow in the footsteps of some of the bigger growth businesses. So for businesses that are wanting to take this more seriously and make it more integral, what comes to mind for you if you were recommending the important first few steps that should be put in place? by these companies?
I already gave a hint about that. I would start talking to the CFO, the CEO, the CMO. I would start with setting up a business case or a business plan for your whole optimization effort. That would be my first step, because optimization costs a lot of money. You pay for tools, you pay for people, you pay for all the resources you need, maybe external help, whatever. So quickly you have a couple of 100,000 K on the cost side. So how do you guarantee that you will get a good profitability? When we're talking about e-commerce, you have, like, for the lowest profit margin, you have a couple of percent. So how much millions do you have to deliver me as an additional revenue so the whole program for a couple of 100,000 makes sense? Work on this plan. What has to happen so you believe the numbers of an A/B test? Most programs fail because people don't believe the numbers, sometimes after some time passed. So all this effort goes up in flames. So that would be my important first step. I know there's the guerrilla technique of starting in the cellar and building some cool A/B tests and just delivering to the management. You started with low effort and present brilliant numbers. You could do that. It's not a mistake, but as soon as you have the attention of the management, bring it to a business case. If you don't turn the big wheel and you don't get the big budget for doing that properly, you maybe won't make a difference. So I think this is the critical first step.
Yeah, I do agree, actually. It's what we advocate at PRWD, and I think certainly speaking to Pep as well, it's certainly how they approach it at Conversion Excel, to, in the first few months, to really kind of tackle head on from the top down of the business, the CEO, the C-suite, engage them, show them the evidence, show them the insight, why we need to change, show them the numbers, and very much agree. It's tackle it. It's the biggest challenge often, yes. But it's tackling it head on. The decision makers.
Of course, it's a challenge, because if you talk one of these guys and you pitch the idea, say, I can deliver you 10, 15, 20% more growth additionally to what you already do. Of course, you have the attention of somebody who is responsible for these numbers. Then they will ask, oh, sounds great. How do you do that? And then you say, oh, first we analyze your website with an expert evaluation. They say, okay, you're that kind of guy. UX. So,
yeah.
As I said, keep the strategic level. That's why I would like to encourage people to work on the business case, make that business plan, present it to the management, and get approval for it. Ask the people, what do you want me to deliver so you believe my numbers? What is your criteria? Ask that question. Look in the face of the people. Ask that question. And then everything will be fine.
Yep. Fantastic. So great. What I'm going to talk about now is what is one of the four pillars of PRWD's maturity model that we've developed over the last 3 years in terms of assessing a business and their effectiveness of making optimization core to their business. And one of these four pillars is process and methodology. For us, absolutely crucial. What's your thoughts around the importance or not of having a process and methodology behind your optimization strategy?
Yeah, I remember Pep. He was the first who came up with this slide from W. Edwards Deming, the quality management godfather or grandfather. That says, or he said, if you can't describe what you're doing as a process, you're not knowing what you're doing at all. And he's right. I would say anything that you can't describe as a process is not repeatable. So the outcome of your process is by pure chance, and that's not acceptable from a business side. So of course, everybody needs a process. I would separate between methodology and process. As a methodology, we created a model that is called the growth canvas. It's a brilliant looking model from the visual point of view. I have to give credit to you, Paul, of course. I remember when we sat together and building this.
With a sketch? Started with a little sketch,
exactly,
yeah.
with a sketch. Now, the growth canvas is a model that starts from that strategic level. Build a business plan. Think about your ability as an organization in terms of skills and experiences, also in terms of culture. This is the strategical foundation of every optimization process. And this is inside our methodology, inside the growth canvas. Then comes customer-centric research, numbers, prioritization. An organization should be able to prioritize their ideas very effectively. We talked about the several tracks. And then you execute your A/B test or your personalization or your email, newsletter optimization, whatever. That leads to growth. So in just a couple of sentences, that's about the growth canvas. And I see the strategic level inside the model is the difference towards all the existing other methodologies in the industry. I see so many models that are completely focusing just on the technical part, and I think it's wrong. The biggest failure is missing the strategic part. So that's the difference with the growth canvas. It's in other words, I think Eric Ries, he built this mantra of build, measure, learn, and the growth canvas is the foundation of this build, measure, learn. Because before you build something, you should know build what and why and how. So then you come to the growth canvas, which includes all these several levels. That's our methodology.
Well, I just want to talk about one of the higher levels and one of the further parts of the growth canvas, because I know this is one of the core areas of specialism for web arts, and it's around psychology and neuromarketing and persuasion techniques, and
Yes.
utilising a wide range of techniques that have an influence on behaviour. In your experience, businesses aren't working with web arts, of course. How much or not do you feel companies are thinking about psychology and persuasion and these different techniques that are available to us? And kind of how many, like, are businesses using these techniques, or is this an opportunity for businesses to, utilise these techniques ahead of their competition?
I mean, it has become very popular on the technical level, all the UX people, the conversion people. It's state of the art to talk about psychology. I remember I had a lot of presentations at conferences about psychology 4, 5, 6 years ago. Then I started to focus on the strategic level or combine psychology and strategy. But again, the talk about psychology is mainly on the operative level. If you're talking to the CMO, he maybe does not know how important consumer psychology is for controlling or for changing his numbers. So on that level, which is crucial for us, the awareness about persuasion and user research and user experience, that is very low. That's where we should start.
Yeah. Okay, great. So what I'd like to just talk a little bit about now is tools. We touched on it briefly before. So again, for businesses that are looking to start to really make a difference and an impact with their optimization efforts, what maybe one or two tools come to mind that should be kind of your foundational starter kit, for want of a better phrase?
Oh, that's a good question, because I completely don't think in tools. To be honest, I think all the tools you get right now, it's kind of a commodity, and each year a new tool comes out. So if I would recommend something right now, it would be outdated in the 2 weeks when you go on air with this podcast or whenever.
Yeah.
What kind of tools do you need? I would say, of course, you need a good testing and personalization tool. So there's also a trend that you can see. All these testing tools, they started building their personalization features inside the tool. That's something really important, because if you continuously think about testing, you end up with personalization. That makes completely sense. So this is a tool you need to execute A/B tests, and you need A/B tests to validate your ideas. Without that, you won't have a data-driven and customer-centric approach to your optimization. So of course you need a tool like this. For me, I'm tool and technology agnostic, so I don't care if you use Optimizely X or I don't know whatever tool there is on the market. I know there are a lot of tools that are too cheap, that don't hit the criteria for a good tool. That's, again, you should produce numbers that the management believes. So you should be in control of your data and numbers. That's something important. And on the other hand, you will need some tools to conduct surveys on your website to see what happens there, when does it happen, how deep are people scrolling. So we're a big fan of tools like Hotjar or from Missimo or whatever, because they're executing that ability to answer your question much better than the typical analytics tools. You know, the typical analytics tool, the third thing you need, measures what happens. But if you're not setting up your analytics tool properly, it's a waste of time. Forget it. Set it properly, then do user testing additionally, and then you will get a reality of what happens on your website. So in most of the times we work with corporations, they have an analytics tool, but it's not set up properly. They don't know what form fields are the crucial ones because they don't have tools like Formissimo. They don't know how deep people are scrolling, for example, because they don't use Hotjar. They've not set up their testing tool correctly. They build tests that have too long loading times, so they destroy their own results. So as you see, the critical factors are mostly not inside the tools. You need the tools, but it's much more important to use that tools properly.
I think to bring in the kind of headline of your big conference that you have every year, Conversion Summit. I know it's I think it's been redeveloped for 2017, but I think for the last 5 years, Conversion Summit has been your big annual conference in Germany, and I was pleasure to speak there last year. And the headline title for the conference was "Growth is about people," and from what you're describing there, very much see this all the time, that there's a continued investment in tools, and businesses are adding new layers on top of existing tools. So they've got their analytics, but they're adding more layers of tools, but they haven't yet got the foundational configuration correct on the Google Analytics. So you can't get appropriate data from that, yet they're investing in additional tools to give them more insights that need more research, more resources, to understand the data. So, I think being very careful about adding more tools on when you haven't got the foundations in place is a core recommendation.
And yes, exactly. And I would say corporations easily invest 100, 200K in tools. They don't question the ROI, but they seem to be having a barrier investing 100 or 200K in the right people or educating the right people so they can set up the tool correctly. So they're producing bullshit results. So this is why my focus would be spend the money in clever people to make the tools work correctly. To buy a tool, all your competitors can do that. So this is not a strategic advantage. But to have the right people who can work with the tool, that's a strategic advantage. So work on that.
Absolutely, yes, very much so. Just one other thing, we talked a little bit about it earlier on, but it's about measuring the success of a conversion optimization program. And we talked about how there's so many variables that are affecting website performance that are maybe not in your control as an optimization agency. How are you typically measuring and demonstrating the impact that you're having for businesses, if you're happy to kind of share some of that?
Yeah. I mean, as I said, we work that out with our clients because clients have different goals. So they all have an individual formula how they evaluate the success. I mean, the major secret that I can share, that I already shared, is that you should talk to the people who have to believe the numbers. But the formula you develop, that is individual. There's no overall formula. Of course, some corporations have a business that is affected by a lot by seasons, by seasonality.
Yeah.
So they make the most of their business in the Christmas time. They make the business with discounts. So all your A/B tests, they won't work in that time, but they maybe work well in summer. So if you make an A/B test in summer that has a 10% uplift and is not working at all during the Christmas sale where they make 60% of the business, how would you evaluate that A/B test? As I said, ask that question to the CFO or CMO. Don't try to push an answer, say, yeah, but it's a 10% uplift, so it must be 1.35 million euros. No, does not work that way.
Yeah.
So that is an individual formula.
Yeah. Fantastic. Okay, great. And just moving into an area I've just touched on there, the big kind of industry, the big annual event that you've been running at WebArts Conversion Summit for the last 5 or 6 years. I'm keen to get your thoughts and what is it you're doing individually and also from an agency point of view. I suppose also including the Global Optimization Group in terms of helping to mature the industry and helping to educate decision makers and practitioners. If you want to share a bit of that.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot we do to educate the people and to push forward the maturity. We have a big training program here at WebArts, which is like 4 different trainings in 4 different cities. It's nearly 160 people we're educating. And the aha moment they have is when they see how we think about optimization and how you should do it. That's where I think, oh, I never thought about optimization in that way. That's brilliant. So education and training is very important to move on the whole industry. As you said, Conversion Summit, we do it as a completely non-profit way. Like it's a budget for the whole event, and then we share it with all the attendees, so that's what they pay as a ticket. But our goal is to educate the people to move them forward. And also we see in their day-to-day job what these people that are responsible for the optimization program, what they need is, and what they're lacking is good tools. So this is why, for example, we developed Iridion as a workflow management tool for optimizers, and we made it completely for free in the basic version because we see that there is a big lack of these tools. People are struggling with Google Docs or spreadsheets and with Jira and Confluence, but these tools are not able to manage their workflow. So we developed that tool for ourselves. But we realized a lot of people could use that because they need it, and now we have several of hundreds of users. We are very satisfied that we could again push the industry forward and give them what they need.
It reminds me very much of the quote from the book Rework by the guys that run 37 Signals, and it's scratch your own itch, and that's what you've done originally with Iridion, and now it's available to others. Yeah.
So for example, we realized as an agency that we need to report the overall ROI of the optimization program. So we integrated that thing as a dashboard in Iridion, because we think everybody should know how they perform. What did they do already? So how many good A/B tests do you have, or hypotheses do you have in your pipeline? What is the average uplift? What's the average success rate? So all these kind of management numbers you need, your Google spreadsheet can't report that number. So that's why we integrated that in Iridion, for example, because we see that people need it.
Yeah. Fantastic, great. So just working towards the end of the interview now, just keen to talk a little bit about the future of the conversion optimization industry. So first of all, what kind of outlook do you see for the industry that that we're specialising in the whole digital landscape?
Oh, that's a very complex question. What we do, for me, I think this is the way you should do what most of the web agencies are already doing, but they're not doing it, or most of them are not doing it very customer-centric and not very number or result-driven. So if you ask ourselves, or if you ask me how should the whole web agency industry evolve, then I would say they have to adapt more and more of the techniques and methodology that we as conversion optimizers developed already. So I think there will be a big shift towards that. It's lean, it's agile, it's result driven, it's customer centric. So there is no other way of doing that. So I think there will be, in the next 10 years, more and more move towards that. But don't ask me how people will call it in 15 years. I have no idea.
Well, what's interesting there, what you've said, one of the we're based in Manchester in the UK, as you know, and one of the UK's and certainly Manchester's biggest digital agencies. I've been speaking to a few people there, and it was about 12 months ago when the book, The Growth Strategy That's Been Ignored, which we're talking about today, when that was published. I met with one of the senior people there, and he said, he thanked me for publishing the book, and he said that I've bought copies for all our C-suite, and all the decision makers at their agency, and he said to them, this is why we need to evolve as an agency. And to kind of witness them firsthand in this 12 months since that, of how they've evolved their website and their, how they present themselves online, is really interesting to see. They've done exactly what you're describing there, that digital agencies need to do.
Yeah, the digital agencies will evolve in that area. The performance agencies, it makes sense that they go towards that. And also for all the consulting industry, I see the same. Of course, they are under pressure. People ask them to deliver results. So, of course, for them, it will be also a big opportunity to do the consulting. Maybe what we today call conversion optimization program or optimization program is a blueprint of how to do digital business in the future.
Yeah, sounds good. And we talked earlier on a little bit around digital transformation as something that has a lot more traction amongst the C-suite, and it's you see the big headlines. I'm seeing a lot of big brands, senior decision makers from big brands, global brands, talking about digital transformation journey that they're on, and we're making customer experience more core to our business. So we know that these kind of terms are getting much more traction than conversion optimization or CRO with the C-suite. But knowing, from my experience, knowing how low the maturity level is typically at the moment amongst most businesses with their A/B testing, and that it's very tactical, it's very iterative, that there's no strategic thinking most often. What do you think? Do you think there's a potential of what we do as a discipline and the methodology and everything, that it could become a kind of victim to trends and buzzwords like digital transformation?
Yeah,
and that,
of course.
Yeah,
of course. I mean, all the disciplines that they are evolving and merging. Think about usability engineering 15 years ago. We did usability labs back in the year 2000, and that was a big trend. If you're today still focused only on usability, you're screwed, because usability is just one factor in the whole user experience thing. So user experience as a terminology for an industry completely ate usability. And now people realize user experience is it's a big area, a big discipline. User experience is responsible for driving our profitability. So if we are changing user experience for higher conversion rates, we maybe call it conversion rate optimization. Maybe this is merging. Then we have people saying, be even more agile and IT and system and software focused. So we hack ourselves into the whole system. So we call ourselves growth hackers. It's another definition of the same thing from another perspective. I know most growth hackers won't agree on that, but it's very similar. I don't know which term will win the race in 10 years. I think if you want to be accepted by the C-suite and digital transformation is their word, call it whatever you like.
I think just picking up on the UX, the UX industry or the UX area of digital, something that I find really fascinating, and I've experienced this over the last 2 or 3 years, where I've attended some like dedicated UX events in the UK, and I've spoke at 1 or 2 of them. And what's been interesting is, and this, I think 2 years ago, I remember speaking at a UX event where I was going in to talk about optimization and the idea of test and learn and applying research and data to then inform a hypothesis, to do a design and things. And it was like a light bulb moment for all these UX practitioners and people that went to this regular UX event, that there was someone there talking about experimentation. And I was really shocked that why are there not more of these UX practitioners that are already working in a test and learn environment? But that was about 2 years ago. As recent as about 3 months ago, 2 of my colleagues at PRWD did a combined talk at another different UX event in Manchester, and it got really well regarded, well rated. The organizer said it's been the most insightful and inspiring event that's been put on by speakers. But it was similar again. It was a UX event, but my 2 colleagues were the only people that were working in a test and learn environment in amongst all these UX professionals. And this was about 4 months ago, at the back end of 2016. And so there seems to be a huge opportunity to educate the UX, people that are dedicated to UX and user research and things like that, to get more of them to want to move into a test and learn environment and an experimentation culture. I think there's just still so many people that they do a lot of good UX work, a lot of good user research work, but that just informs new designs, but they don't test them. I don't know if that makes sense, but it's just that there's a whole area there of practitioners that I think need to step more into a test and learn idea.
Yeah, I completely agree, and I would go even further and say there's already a battle between UX people and conversion people. I regularly speak on a UX conference in Germany, and I see people sitting there with their arms like that. I don't know how you call it in English. They're like crossed their arms.
They're disengaged, or
disengaged, whatever. That is now is the conversion guy coming. That's wrong. It's not about conversion rates. It's about user experience. We want to make our people happy. That's what counts. So that's a conflict of goals. The different disciplines, they have different goals. And I see, for example, there's an organization, interactiondesign.org. I see them on Facebook. A lot of time they're advertising, saying how we make like a stupid online marketer become a clever user experience guy. I say that's dumb. It's not about the war of disciplines. An online marketing guy has maybe other KPIs he has to influence. So that's what I like about conversion optimization. For me, it's like a meta discipline, you know? You need all these disciplines, from online marketing to user experience to how to build a great task with front-end technology and tools, measure the right KPIs. That's like a meta discipline. You connect things to reach the higher goal of profitability. So I don't see any need for disciplines to battle what is the real truth. Yeah? That's so stupid. So and that's what I like about conversion optimization. And I had a talk say don't call it conversion optimization.
Yeah, I think what I sometimes talk about is when I'm speaking to business, going into a business, and there's a range of decision makers, people from across the business, is to basically say that at the end of the day, we're all here to. Well, most people, maybe some aren't, but most people are within a business to help that business succeed, to grow, to get more customers, to make more money. We're all in it together, so it's not about competing and like people wanting different things. We should all be trying to do the same thing, and how we get there is through a range of disciplines working together, rather than competing for airtime and for budgets.
Yes, exactly. Completely agree.
So just the final few questions. I talked earlier on about Google Optimize coming into the marketplace as a free tool, and it's Google, so it's very credible. It's like when Google Analytics came along to help evolve the analytics industry, to make analytics easier to access. What do you feel influence that Google Optimize may have on the maturity of the industry, particularly with it being a free tool and particularly with it being Google?
I mean, didn't we all start with a free tool several years ago? I don't know if the statistic traps really harm the whole industry or the whole movement. Of course, it could have a bad influence, but I wouldn't go that far. I think anything that helps people and organizations to move one step further in the whole maturity is good. So as I said, that's why we made Iridion for free, because it's one important step to manage your workflow, for example. So it's the same with Google Optimize. If Google Optimize helps people with very low maturity to go one step further, it might look not perfect for us, but in our maturity, we may be dozens of levels ahead. We should not care. Maybe it's not the tool that's made for us. But maybe it helps people that are just starting.
Yeah, I think one key piece of advice for anyone listening that is maybe going to go and use Google Optimize is plain and simple. To when you're going to run a test, and it's probably quite easy to do with Google Optimize, is to have some form of an intelligent hypothesis behind it, some kind of reason behind what you're testing, because it can be so easy to just test for the sake of it, because you've got a tool and it's easy and you can use the editor. So yeah, anyone listening, I think it's just have some intelligence behind the test that you're going to run.
Yes, exactly. So and the ones that don't have, they will fail, and not because of the tool they're using.
Yeah. Yeah. Fantastic. So just almost wrapping up now. I'd just like to give you an opportunity to share maybe one or two valuable links that you feel that listeners would benefit from taking a look at, if you have them. I know you mentioned Iridion earlier on, which is your kind of platform and workflow management, whether that was one.
Yeah, of course, that is one. And anybody that is interested to visit a conference in Germany, I would recommend Conversion Summit. It's conversionsummit.com. We just renamed it to Growth Marketing Summit. So we are not in that area of, like, people could think it's about tweaking buttons and landing pages, because conversion CRO, conversion optimization, it might imply that. So we wanted to leave that field behind us. That's why we renamed it to Growth Marketing Summit. It's a conference in Frankfurt, but it has 90% English speakers. So everybody who's interested in visiting a conference with a higher maturity level, yeah, feel free to come.
Yeah, fantastic. I can genuinely advocate attending this conference. Again, I spoke at the 2016 event, and I published an article on the conference afterwards, which is on a Bitly link, which is bit.ly/33 lessons, and I described the conference as the most influential and inspiring that I've ever spoke at. So yeah. Fantastic work, Andre, for getting the conference to that stage. And yeah, and just is there also a link, or where can listeners find out a bit more about what you're doing on a more of an individual level within web arts?
I'm afraid there's no. I'm so bad in my self marketing and branding, so I don't have any English resources about that. So we have our blog that it's called Konversionskraft, very German word. You can use Google Translate to use that, and if you Google me, you will find some German sites. But I'm sorry, you always have to use Google Translate.
Okay, no worries. Well, at least listeners have got this that they can bookmark and share amongst people in the industry, which has been an extremely valuable interview. And so, on that note, I just want to thank you immensely, Andre, for taking part in this interview, and thanks again for obviously contributing to the book, and thank you for everyone that's listened through this podcast. It's been probably the longest one that I've done, but one of the most valuable. So you can read Andre's full response to the question, what is holding companies back from growing through conversion optimization, along with the responses of 16 other industry thought leaders like Brian Eisenberg, Pep, Craig Sullivan, Angie Schottmuller, Talia Wolf, Ollie Gardner, in the book The Growth Strategy That's Been Ignored. And you can find out more about the book, which is available to buy in hardback and Kindle at Amazon. You can find out more about the book at www.crogrowthbook.com. So finally, thanks once again, Andre, for your time on this call. It's been immensely valuable.
Thanks for having me. It was a real pleasure.
Thank you very much. Cheers. Bye-bye.
Bye.